consultation obviously with the Secretary, if you're able to expand on how they will be protected, that would be very, very good news to those people supported into it.
You said we should do everything we can,
yeah, okay.
which is great, but specifics would be helpful.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll...
You're going to do what, Prime Minister? Now, did Keir Starmer promise to protect the most vulnerable? Oh, that's what Labour MP Debbie Abrahams was asking in the Liaison Committee meeting on the 19th of December 2024.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. I want to move on to the Get Britain Working White Paper. You'll be aware that over 2 million disabled people who want to work and a disability employment gap of nearly 30%. What are you doing to help more businesses recruit disabled people into work and also to make sure they retain their experienced workers should they become disabled?
Well, firstly, thank you for raising this, because I don't think we talk about this enough. The Employment Rights Bill that we're putting in place puts in place extra protection. In the work that we want to do to get people back into work, there are, as you probably know, 2.8 million people or so who are on long-term sick.
Slightly different from people, the point that I'm making, which is about disabled people. So people on long-term sick won't necessarily be included in that particular figure. So on the 2 million, and it's a fairly static figure, what can we do to sort of change the attitudes and the willingness of employers to recruit disabled people?
Well, we should do everything that we can because it's very important that we have a proper ability for people, disabled people, to be at work, to work in the way that they want, and we should support employers and support them to make sure that happens.
Thank you. Moving on then, thinking about the third of disabled people who are living in poverty because of the extra costs that they face. While work may be the route out of poverty for the 2 million that I've just been talking about, how will you ensure that those disabled people who can't work have adequate support and that systemic safeguards are in place so we don't have more horrendous deaths of sick and disabled people reliant on the social security system?
Well, we have to make sure that support is in there, and we will make sure that support is in there. I do think within that group there are quite a number, particularly those on long-term sick, who do want to be back into work, but want to be supported into work, because, as you know, it can be quite a daunting thing if you've been on long-term sick to go back into the workplace. And therefore what we've been looking at is schemes. There are some already there, as you know, where employers have schemes to support long-term, those who've been on long-term sick, back into work, and I'm very, very supportive of that. I've been to see them myself, to give people the chance to go back to work, because sometimes making that step or taking that step is very, very difficult.
That's a very good point, and I absolutely accept that, but there will be disabled people who will not be able to work. We know that over the last 15 years, disabled people have been particularly battered by the reduction in support that they have got. So I know that disabled people are feeling very anxious about what's going to happen, for example, in the spring. There are a cohort of disabled people who will never work, and they are living in absolute poverty. I mean, it is some of the conditions that people are living in when they have extra costs of nearly £1,000 a month. That doesn't seem to be recognised. So if you, when in consultation obviously with the Secretary, if you're able to expand on how they will be protected, that will be very, very good news to those people.
Yeah, they must be protected.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prime Minister. My final question today relates to pensioner poverty. 300,000 more pensioners are living in relative poverty since 2013, and women are one of the groups that are disproportionately affected by this. And this has been significantly increased by recent increases in the state pension age. We know that the DWP estimates the restrictions in eligibility for winter fuel payment will also add to the number of disabled pensioners living in poverty. I appreciate increasing pensioner credit is very important, but single pensioners just above that £11,000 threshold can't wait until next spring before they get their uprating in their state pensions. What further mitigations are you considering given the potential impacts on the health and well-being of these pensioners?
There are allowances in place which are not targeted to pensioners in particular, but for households that are struggling, obviously, as you know, administered by local authorities, that we have not only maintained but enhanced, as that is in place. The upgrade or the uptick in the pension that comes in April is about £470. Of course, there was an uptick in the April of this year as well, and therefore a pensioner, as it were, a year ago, facing the winter, even with the winter fuel allowance, will not be as well off as a pensioner after the £470 next April. But that is only because we can maintain the triple lock, which we wouldn't be able to maintain if we didn't stabilise the economy, which is why we did what we needed to do with the budget.
My point is specifically about this group who have also, we've seen increases in poverty. They can't wait until spring. If we have a bad winter, they will be affected. And I hope you'll be able to come forward with some mitigations there, Prime Minister. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for now.
Very interesting. Now, did he convince you that he will protect the long-term sick and disabled? Well, neither did he convince the chair, Dame Meg Elliott and Debbie Abrahams either.
Prime Minister, I don't know if you're able to add to the response you gave me in terms of, for example, how specifically we're going to be engaging with employers to ensure that the 2 million disabled people who are able to work can be supported.
You said we should do everything we can,
yeah, okay.
which is great, but specifics would be helpful.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll do a follow-up letter with a lot of detail in it.
I do hope that there's more detail than what you've said here. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't care, and he probably does want to protect the most vulnerable if he can. Maybe they've not got all the details ready and he doesn't want to prejudge early. I don't know. But what we certainly don't want is more over the last 14 years, thank you very much, treated like you're nothing, but a lazy layabout, good-for-nothing scrounger, constantly on the take. And if you want your benefits, you must either look for work for 30 hours a week or work for slave labour for your pittance. And after my emergency spinal operation, here's what happened to me. My mobility was severely damaged. I was finished on incapability. After failing an assessment at the DWP with no points, obviously, I was shoved on an intensive job search programme. I was asked to get a mandatory reconsideration. And I failed that one with no points as well, saying because you can sit down and read a book for up to an hour and turn on a DAB radio, you are fit for work. See, the thing is, I can barely stand up for 10 minutes before my back is in agony. So we took the DWP to a tribunal because, hey, why not? What have we got to lose? And while waiting for the decision, we had my job search coach telling me to keep looking for work because they won't overturn the decision, Threatened me with sanctions as well because I couldn't find work I was capable of doing or had the qualifications to do the job on offer. But then after 2 years of this, waiting for a decision, we actually got the decision and it went in our favour. Yes, we won. They gave me maximum points for my mobility problems on its own because the DWP didn't give them sufficient explanations as to why they gave me no points for mobility. And they said that the symptoms that we gave them as evidence that I suffer with is in line with what their expert told them. But it shouldn't have to get this far, should it? I shouldn't have needed to take the DWP to a tribunal to receive what I deserved. All this fucking about, it did take its toll on my wife, as both mentally and physically. She was really struggling because she was having to help me to get to the job centre and she was watching me struggle, and she's not the same person anyway. So, Keir Starmer, no more of that, thank you, please. And because we've been battered enough. So, sorry for the rant, but I just needed to get off my chest. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below. And if you enjoy everything, House of Commons and Select Committee meetings, like and subscribe, as my aim is to try and reach 40,000 subs by the end of the year. Tough ask, but So it just leaves me to say I shall leave the video here and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.